Hello MIS students, I am Arash. In this video, I am going to introduce you to the notion of nested loops, which is very important in programming. Suppose that we have been asked to develop an application that prints the 10 by 10 multiplication table. Let me first tell you how I tackle this problem or problems like this. The moment that I see something like 10 by 10 or a big number, I would say to myself, I don't want to let this 10 by 10 scare me. So I would say, if I can develop a program that can print the 2 by 2 multiplication table, I would be able to change that program into another program that can print the 10 by 10 or 100 by 100 multiplication table. So the first program that I'm going to develop is going to just print the 2 by 2 multiplication table. Something like this. So 1 by 1, 1, 1 by 2, 2, 2 by 1, 2, 2 by 2, 4. So let's first develop an application that prints the 2 by 2 multiplication table, and after that we are going to change that program into another program that can print the 10 by 10 or the 100 by 100 multiplication tables. Now, I can't put enough stress on this. I am concentrating on the 2 by 2 multiplication table because in programming, it's the logic of my application that matters. If I can come up with a logic that can take care of the 2 by 2 multiplication table, the same logic can be used to tackle the problem of generating a 10 by 10 or 1000 by 1000 multiplication tables. So let's first tackle the problem of generating the 2 by 2 multiplication table together. You can view the 2 by 2 multiplication table as different rows, where each row starts with a header, which is the number that the row belongs to, meaning that each row has the multiplications of the header. You can view the 2 by 2 multiplication table as different columns as well, where each column has a header. You can generate the multiplication table by generating different rows. So I need to have a loop that produces different rows, and the counter of that loop is actually the headers of my different rows starting from 0. Why do I need to have a 0 here? Because I need to reserve a row for the headers of my different columns. So I am going to have a loop with these guys as its counter. In each cycle of that loop, I am going to print a row which contains the multiplications of the header, which is going to be the current value of my counter. So let's go to the application that we developed last time. You can see that I only changed the text of this button. Let's change the event that belongs to this button by double clicking on it. We said that we need to have a loop that generates 3 different rows. This is the first loop. You can see that the counter is integer I, starting from 0, ending to 2, and each time we need to increment the counter by 1. So what do we need to do in this loop? So the first thing that needs to be done in each cycle of my loop is printing the header of each row. And I can simply take care of that by asking Visual Studio to add the present value of my counter to the present value of my rich text box. Also, I need to have some space after my header, and I can take care of that by the meta character \t, which simply means tab. Okay, so when I am here, it means that I have already printed the header of each row, and I have added a space after that. So what should I do now? Now I need to print the multiplications of the header after the header, and that is going to be taken care of by a nested loop which we are going to take care of later. And when my nested loop is completed, meaning that when my row is completed, I need to go to the next line and I need to have an empty line in between. I can easily take care of that by another meta character \n. So \n simply means new line. So let's run this application to see what we have got so far. So if I press this, you see that we are getting the headers of our rows. So far so good. Now we are going to complete the nested loop. That is, we are going to concentrate on this section of our first loop. Remember, when we are here, it means that we have already printed the header of our current row. And now we need to print all the multiplications of that header. So let's suppose that we have printed 2. Now we need to print 2 and 4 as the multiplications of 2. So this is going to be my nested loop. I want you to pay attention that I have picked another counter for my second loop. Why is that? Because when I am here in this row, I need to start counting from 1 to 2 so that I can print the multiplications of 1. And when I'm here, I need to start counting all over again from 1 to 2 in order to print all the multiplications of 2. So I have a different counter for my second loop. So here we need to write the body of our nested loop. Again, when we are here, it means that the header of our row has been just printed. Now, if the header is 0, meaning that if this counter is 0, we just need to print the headers for our columns. So in that case, I just need to print the current counter of my nested loop. So if the counter of my first loop is equal to 0, meaning that we are here, I'm asking Visual Studio to print the current counter of my second loop. Again, pay attention that whenever you print anything, you need to have some space after it, and this meta character takes care of that. Else, meaning that if our first counter is anything but 0, meaning that we are either here or here, I need to multiply my first counter by my second counter and just print it. So let's take care of that. So I'm going to add the multiplication of my first counter and my second counter with some space after it. Now let's run this application and see what we have got so far. So if I press this button, I am expecting to receive a 2 by 2 multiplication table. And there we go. 1 by 1, 1, 1 by 2, 2, 2 by 1, 2, 2 by 2, 4. Now, since our logic is working, I am going to change the upper limit of my counters to 10 and I expect my application to work just fine. Let's see. So if I press this button, I am expecting to receive a 10 by 10 multiplication table. And there we go. 4 by 5, 20, 7 by 8, 56, and 10 by 10, 100. Now, if you change the upper limit of your counters to 500, the only thing that you need to worry about is the size of your rich text box. Other than that, you are going to receive a 500 by 500 multiplication table.